don't know. I'm 100% sure about that one, ladies and gentlemen. But she has launched the third book. Is it a trilogy, by the way, or is this the last book in the series, or you got more?
There's more coming. Trilogy right now, but there is more coming.
And then we'll do this properly. Ladies and gentlemen, it is her third in a series of killers and rock and roll combined together. Her launch was Backtrack. It came out. I was there at her launch. She was jamming with the best of them. I gotta say, the only thing I felt a little off is like I'm used to going like to heavy metal concerts. So if I'm not getting hit by somebody, it kind of feels like something's missing. You know?
Yeah.
Because my first concert back when the pandemic was a metal concert, right? So everybody was hesitant for like the first couple songs, and then everybody just started doing what they normally do in a metal concert, right? So I got body checked by like this 20-year-old. I mean, she's doing these leaping checks into people, man. Hardest I got hit in years, and it was like I was a little in love, not gonna lie. But I was a little in love with that, but then she disappeared. And so it's like now that's the concert experience I'm going for. Now, I'm not saying that yours was bad.
No, we rocked out pretty hard, but nobody hit anybody. The band was just full of love for everybody because they were just so excited that we were really into their music. So no hitting.
No. Well, metal mosh pits have their own rules. And I get that. They do. And that you weren't doing a metal mosh pit thing. You were doing an old school 80s air band rock and roll. Lynx was awesome, by the way. Shout out to them just real quick here before we continue the conversation. You guys rocked. It was fun. But yeah, we're kind of back. I mean, the world still feels a little strange, but we are back and kind of going back to normal, whatever the hell that is now. And so did it feel good? Did you do a launch like that again?
Well, okay, so when I wrote the first book in this series, it was like, can I write a novel? I didn't know. I mean, it was a lot of work. So I did throw a big party. I did have a band, and I wasn't really thinking like ahead, right? When the second book came out, nobody was allowed to go anywhere, so I was able to facilitate an online launch, and it was pretty decent. We had a live stream by a band. We had a lot of interaction. There were a lot of people showing up because nobody could go anywhere. They wanted to interact, and it was the only way that could happen. So when this third book came to life, I just thought, you know what, it's time. I reached out to a lot of people, and people were craving something. A lot of these people that have been supporting me, my friends and family here locally in Calgary, they know each other. They wanted to see each other. They wanted to celebrate with me. So the time was right for something like this, for sure. I don't know going forward, like to throw a party like this every single time I launch a book. That won't happen because I do actually launch a lot of smaller works in between the full novels. But, knowing this series is going to continue, I can't say there wouldn't be another party at some time. Maybe after I get another couple books out in the series, we'll time it. We'll time it appropriately where people are wanting it. But I honestly can't say there wouldn't be another party. I mean, it was pretty fun.
I could even help you with that a little bit. See, it just so happened right before we were going to go on today, early in the morning, a friend of mine, you might know her. She knows in the metal community, she's known as the Metal Maiden. She takes pictures of all the metal bands. She goes, "Have you heard of Julie Hiner? She's amazing." I was like, "I'm interviewing today." Oh, that's sweet, right? Because I've known Maggie forever. I've known her literally forever, and I literally just came back to Calgary a few weeks ago. So it's like I'm slowly getting myself back in, catching up with some of the people I'm going to catch up with anyway. But she's like, "Yeah, man, you gotta get Julie." It's like, yeah, done. Like it's literally this afternoon.
Yeah. Actually, she just connected with me this morning. She reached out, and I was really thrilled to connect with her. I did not know about her. I think she might have seen. She knows Lynx, the band that played at my launch, and I think she's connected with them. And I think so. One of the guitarists bought all 3 books, and because he had helped me so much planning this event, I always special wrap books, but I put a little extra into his package, and he did a fantastic unwrapping and a video and everything. And I think maybe she saw that, and then she reached out to me. So I'm really glad she did reach out because she seems like a super cool person. And
I've had her on the
yeah,
show.
and to know that she does photos of shows, that's awesome to know someone like that in case I need to recommend somebody. So
Well, she's actually one of the sweetest people. I interviewed her years ago. She's legitimately a sweetheart. She really, really is, and she's got some great band stories too. People
yeah,
like that. It's how you actually meet bands. And then there's me. I accidentally got into. I found a publicist for metal by accident, kind of. I was looking for a metal
nice.
band, and I connected to a publicist. So now every month I'm interviewing metal bands. Now it's kind of fun. So it's
That
just like,
sounds great. Yeah.
oh, yeah, it's actually episode 801 is a metal band. It's gonna be fun. I have to listen to their music this week. My life sucks.
Right. Right. Yeah.
My life's terrible. I gotta listen to a metal band. Yes, folks, it's really, really hard to be me sometimes. Sometimes, right? But no, it's well. I think honestly, you were ahead of your time in some ways. If we're going to be very frank, because I don't like. I look at it kind of like this: like the book industry, right? The book industry has basically. By the way, she just messaged me right now.
Oh,
She's
nice.
watching, legitimately
That's
watching. Hey
great.
Maggie, how you doing? Right, but I just said a shout out to her. She's watching the show. So hey, Metal Maiden, you rock. You gotta come back on yourself sometime. But
Yes.
um, I think you were ahead of your time because, like, okay, so I'm Mike. I do an Alice in Wonderland series. I'm not certain I go to a bookstore. And it's not because I hate the idea of going to a bookstore. I just think that for me, hitting an audience that would tie into what I'm doing more, right,
Yeah.
makes a lot more sense. So, like for example, since I'm doing Alice in Wonderland, maybe I should go to the theater, or maybe I should launch it at like a school, not
Yeah.
a bookstore. I think you doing what you're doing, right? Especially with this, I think is like it might be one of the most brilliant things I've seen. Honest to God, even if it was an accident, take the credit for it, right? It's
No,
just
thank you. Thank you. No,
yeah,
I really appreciate that because I did, when
yeah,
I had the first launch, I did do some things that were a little more um, traditional in terms of the book signings and stuff. And it's not to say I won't do those, but when I formed the in person party and I found a really dive bar that just really fit the scenery in the book,
yes,
and then I thought, this has to have an 80s metal band. And at that time, I was able to find a really good, like, 80s metal cover band. And they did a Noise Boys thing that they used to do. And they kind of pulled it out and put on their wigs and dusted off their 80s metal. And they did a brilliant job. That's the Noise Boys. They now are in different various bands, Silly Wabbit, and there's a couple others that they've gone into. But it was just people came and it was a whole experience. And I wasn't sure how it was going to go, but everybody told me after that it was just an experience and so much fun. And so when I launched the second one, recreating it virtually wasn't easy, but I'm really glad I put in the effort because, again, what happened is it brought this experience for people that were locked in their houses to at least have some kind of interaction and fun. And so this time, I used to really question and doubt because I do that. I have a lot of self doubt. But this time I just thought, no, I'm doing this. And I just started looking into it. And this band I hired is not a cover band. They are an original band. They have 2 albums out. They're working on their third. And when I found them online, I thought, like, did I just close my eyes and imagine Julie's dream band in Calgary? And then here they are.
yeah,
And they are just like, they are trying to promote and sell their art and they're so passionate about it. Well, that's how I feel about my book. So it was a really great collaboration and I will definitely do it again with them because they not only are they just so passionate about their music, as you saw, they interacted with my friends, they interacted with me, they made it a whole experience. And I think that's just who they are. They're just really authentic, really genuine, and that's really important to me too. And so I appreciate that you said that because I do go all out on this. And even when I just like, there were people that couldn't come, but they wanted books. And I do have a bookstore set up on my website where if you're in Calgary or one of the surrounding areas, you can get glam wrapped author signed, delivered to your door. There's just something about glam wrapping books that goes with the theme, and people love it. They're like, I've had people say they bought the ebook and didn't open the package because they don't want to open it. And I'm like, really? Like,
See,
that's
I
so touching.
can I give you a touch of suggestion? I realize that how much it's going to cost with postage, but I honestly think you should think in these terms.
Yeah.
I think you should consider expanding the international options on this, because here's my take to you. Okay, I had this. This goes back to the Brandon Sanderson Kickstarter. You know how you did stupid money.
Yeah.
Well, right now, here's the thing. Okay, what a lot of authors think about is how to get the most bang for your buck. And don't get me wrong, that is an audience you need to touch. But what you should be thinking of, okay, like you kind of do it with the glam wrap thing, but go one step farther. Like imagine yourself going like this, okay? What's my Disneyland experience? What is the
Yeah.
ultimate experience I can give to my audience? And can I offer it? And furthermore, can I get someone to buy it? There's another audience out there that's looking for that one of a kind experience, looking for that. I can get this really cool thing. It's the novelty. It's unique. It's one of a kind. It's rare, or it's an awesome experience. Like having a glam wrap book delivered by Julie Hiner is freaking awesome, right? I don't want to I think you do some incredibly smart things, but I think what you should do is take it a step further and go, you know what? What is the absolute dumbest thing I can do? Like the absolute thing I always want to do to my audience and go, hey, I'll sell this and charge what it's actually worth. You got to remember something. Kiss the band sold their autobiography for $200,
Yeah.
and they got 100,000 sales.
Mm-hmm.
Why? Because it was Kiss, yes, but it's also it's their special story, and they made it an exclusive club thing. Like, what's your exclusive? What is Julie Hiner's exclusive club thing? What's her Disneyland? What's her one of a kind, awesome, made of cheese moment? If you have that, that's a whole other audience you can hit. You know what I mean?
Yeah. That's really good advice. Yeah.
Yeah. Just something to do. Yeah. Like hey, listen, and go crazy. Like for me, so my Alice in Wonderland series is going to be when I go to print. I'm also making a board game to go with it.
Oh, right. Yeah. Okay.
So why?
Yeah.
Because it's part of the story, part of the experience, part of the package. Well, everybody now I'll make it so that some people can just buy the board game, some people can buy the book. But if you want the full experience, you're gonna pay for the both of those.
And is that something like you're envisioning you package this all on places like Amazon, where instead of just clicking on the book, they get the gift pack, the whole package?
I'm actually going to Kickstarter this. I'm actually I'm going to be my next 3 book releases are going to be Kickstarters.
Yeah, that's great.
Because the other thing too about publishing in general is there's more than one way to do it. There's so many ways to do it now, right? There's Kickstarter, there's Unbound, there's Wattpad, there's Amazon, there's going wide, there's getting traditionally published, small press, big press. And I'm missing a whole bunch of other options that are available for everybody, right? So the question then becomes, what's the best thing? What's your best audience? What's your best target? What's your best, you are dealing with serial killers, which is surprisingly a very popular thing. I have been reading more indie books, let me tell you. Right?
It's very popular.
People like their psychos. I don't know. There might be something about that dark charisma thing. I don't know, but people like those. But you got cool rock and roll experience. So I mean, if I'm again strictly speaking from a marketing standpoint, I think you do a really cool job targeting bands and stuff like that and going into that. But maybe what you should do is maybe you should take a bigger leap into that culture, because I think like a lot of book authors don't really understand their audiences, and I think you've made farther inroads, I think, in finding your audiences than a lot of authors try to do. And I think what you should be doing is correlating your database and going, okay, who is buying my shit? And then go, how can I cater to that?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because I mean, strictly on a business end of things, you are a
Yeah.
business,
Yeah.
right?
Well, and I guess where I love this idea where my challenge, where I need to learn is when I do local glam wrapped books. I mean, I've ordered the books, I get the wrapping, I put the treats inside, I deliver them. That's pretty straightforward. But to ship those, to make them and then ship them, that's the cost, that's a problem. But what you're suggesting is something smarter where you have it packaged somehow online and then they can order it that way. Because if you're in the States and ordering from the States, that's one thing. But for me to send it there,
But
it's that shipping cost.
but I would go one step further. Assume that they're going to eat that cost. If you make a good
Right.
enough package to do it, assume they
Right.
will actually just eat it,
Yeah.
right? They won't
That's
care,
true. Yeah.
right? They won't care. If
Yeah.
the experience is strong enough and awesome enough, right? And again,
Yeah.
here's the beautiful thing about that too. You don't need a lot of people to buy it. Like you don't, right? If you
Right.
get
It's
like
the exclusive club, the ones that
right,
are
right, yeah,
hardcore fans.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
And you build
Yeah.
it like and you build
Like,
another audience that way, right?
yeah.
Without actually like it's something I've been like I said, it's not just Brandon Sanderson, but I've been looking at businesses in general. They all do this. Every one of them,
Yeah. Yeah.
right? Whether you go to your local beer store, there's like the regular Crown Royal, and then there's the really good stuff, right?
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
People pay for that really good stuff. I've been working at a cigar shop for the last couple of weeks. I watched this. These cigars are like $200 a pop, some of them, and people are like, "Here, take my money." It's like it burning out of their pocket, right? So, and that's
Yeah.
and right. People always don't be afraid to put out what your services or what your work is worth because there's someone out there that will see it. And again, do you really? I mean, don't get me wrong. I'm sure you would love to have 100,000 sales, but I think you'd be okay with $100,000 and 1,000 sales. I mean, I'm just saying. I'm not saying that's what it's gonna happen, but you know what I mean. Like that's the like if you get that if you
Yeah.
get that kind of number, you're still happy, right? You know what I mean?
Well, you're onto something here because I really do care more about that smaller group that really, really likes what I'm
Yeah.
writing and really likes what I'm doing. And I've really catered to that smaller group, and I'm really happy with that. So
Yeah.
you're really onto something here for sure.
Yeah, well, or I'm on something. We'll let that go for another day.
Yeah.
But
Right.
right. But the thing is, right. This is how you gotta think. Everything's a niche now, right? I think honestly, you have done a better job than most realizing. Maybe I don't know if this was a conscious thing or an unconscious thing, but you realized that.
I don't think it was conscious, but I think what I've learned this year from feedback from people like you is that conscious or not, this really is something that I'm doing. And I think I was just writing what's in me and putting out my art. And then it kind of turned into like, this is a pretty memorable thing. And I didn't intentionally do that, but now I have taken steps to really learn more about the business side of it and be more aware of that because then when you put out a consistent image, people remember that over time. So I'm definitely getting better at doing it more consciously, even though it really is just, I honestly just do what I love. I really do. And,
But you know what? That's not a bad way to go about it. It's
yeah.
honest. There's a lot to that. There's an honest authenticity to that,
Yeah.
and honestly, that goes a long way. Look, I mean, I have a big mouth. Look how many episodes I've been doing. It's not because I'm necessarily good at what I do. It's because I'm just authentic with what I do.
Yes.
That's all there is.
Yes.
That's all there is to it. And you're the same thing. You're doing what you love. You're authentic about it. It's cool. It's awesome.
Yeah. Well, I mean, when I first started writing the first book, and I thought like, for some reason, I had this idea that all the murder scenes should be inspired by 80s metal MTV videos. And at first, I really struggled. I thought this is too freaking weird. This is not okay. But I had enough feedback to say that, you know what, this is your art project. You need to write whatever's in you. And I finally just went with it. And now, honestly, all my writing is just infused with that kind of idea. And I think people then remember, oh, this is a Julie story, like right away they know. And so now it's great that I went through that journey because I just learned how to believe in it and just do it. And I have had people, like I had somebody do this review and he's like, this is Seven meets Guns N' Roses. And I'm like, totally, that's what this is. That was one of the best reviews I had because it just nails it on the head that he's somebody that read it, liked it, and now he reads them, you know, and there are those people out there. I have authors, I have certain movies that, you know, you're always going to gravitate towards that because that's what you love so much. And that's just, those are the people that I've been able to find and that I hope to continue to find.
Oh, and you will. The more you put yourself out there with doing this,
Yeah.
the more you'll find those people. That's how this works.
Yeah.
Right?
And honestly, the 80s metals, like my husband will come home and of course I always have music going because that's just, he's like, really? Does it always have to be 80s? Does it always have to be metal? And I'm kind of like, well, yeah, it does. Like I definitely like seek out new bands and find new bands. And but honestly, that flavor, so it's like when you're looking for a book or a movie, that flavor, like some of the concerts I'm going to this summer are Greta Van Fleet, you know, stuff like that, where, yeah, maybe they are a new band, but they've got that flavor. They grew up on blues, they grew up on rock, and they've got that flavor to them. And I'm always going to love that. And it's still out there. Obviously, I'm not the only one because, you know, these bands are still up and Dirty Honey. If you've seen them, they're new, same feel, exactly same feel. And then Lynx, like how I found Lynx, I can't believe these guys they're young. They're all 80s metal inspired. So one of my favorite tracks, they actually have a video on their website, and it's called Crazy Crazy World. But if you're a hardcore 80s metal like me, the second that video started, I knew exactly what inspired it. And I brought up the video and I compared them and I was like, oh my God, this is just too good. I can't believe how good this is.
Well, but that's the best thing, right? They're fans, and we're all fans of art of some form or fashion. Like I said, I'm into metal bands now. Like I'm more of a symphonic guy. Like I love Nightwish, I love Taria, I love Epica. Like that's my generally my jam. But I will wander into like Viking death metal, like I'm on the Mars, and I'll go sometimes the other way a little bit with Elevite, and so. I'm always pleasantly surprised because I will go and listen to, and now I get to listen to these new bands all the time. So now I got this little like exclusive club. There's a couple of us in the comic world. So what I do is I'll send them like random ass stuff I'm listening to, and they'll send me random ass stuff they're listening to. Yeah. You haven't lived until you've heard Indian metal, like from India.
Yes.
Yeah, that is just sweet stuff, man.
Nice.
Right, so I mean that's the thing. Like we're all fans, and we all find things that just really just grab us. And there's an audience for all of it, all of that stuff. You just have to be, again, what's true to you. And that I think the honest thing, like for me being a freelancer for the last 2 years, that was the hardest lesson for me was, okay, what's gonna work is gonna be the shit that's true to myself, right? So in my case, it's helping others, but also telling crazy ass stories, because that's what I do. Right? So that's it. That's what I do, right? So that's me. That's what's going to work for me. Now other people will, again, it may not work. And so now the next step for me is I got to do something you've done, is find those people in the area that gravitate towards those things. But you've done that, and you're going to just get bigger and bigger. And then maybe one day you're going to wake up and all of a sudden you'll see Julie Hiner, International or USA Today or some kind of best. It'll happen. There's tipping points. My podcast had a 2,000 download week about 6 weeks.
Yeah.
Right, awesome. which is crazy. But it's nothing out of the ordinary I did. It just happened, right? And right. That's the thing. Like success isn't like people think. It's not this giant magical drawer. It's just doing those little things for long enough that eventually the universe says, I give up, and here you go. And that's what's going to happen to you if you keep going the way you're going.
Yeah. Well, and I'm just super excited that things are opening because I really do enjoy the in-person, like whatever it be, a festival or where you can have a table and you can meet other people and buy some of their products and you can sell some of your books. So we actually do have HorrorCon coming up in Calgary at the end of June, and it was scheduled, and then of course got canceled for the last couple of years. And so now they've honored all the tables that were purchased in 2020, and I'm really excited to be going to that, because I mean, not only will I see some people there I want to buy their stuff, but it'll give me a chance to sell some of my books locally and meet some people that might enjoy this kind of work. And then the other thing that is happening is it's called the Electric Highway Festival. So it's actually like all rock bands of the kind of genre I love. And then they have like an expo. So they have a vendor room. And I had reached out to them right before COVID, and they saw the book, and I only had one book, and they were like, "Oh, this is so perfect, right?" And so I have a table there for September, which they're honoring because they had to cancel, they weren't able to reschedule, and now they're on. And so, in fact, I'm hoping to see some bands I know locally play there as well, and also have my table there. So
That's pretty sweet.
even just having those in-person things coming up again, it's just really reigniting the excitement for sharing what I do, and then learning about what other people are doing too, of course, right?
Oh yeah, no. Well, that's just kept me going for like the whole pandemic for me. I've been talking to people nonstop. I mean,
Yeah.
I got to meet some really cool people. Let's see, Christina Z, who actually did the original Witchblade series. I've got to meet Mark Park, who was on Game of Thrones. Also, Garrett Garza, who her first work was with Avatar, right, which is pretty freaking sweet. I've talked to some of my old friends too, and some people I've met along the way. But it's amazing. I think the big thing is, I think in one really good sense and bad sense, it kind of also made up, like, it diverted all of us the pandemic. Because I think what's happened is it's put people in closer to their people, whoever they are, and that's kind of the focus, right? Like I mean, I'm back in Calgary now. I don't know, like I said, I don't know if I'm going to be around here forever and ever again. I could see myself up and disappearing again, like poof, one day. I might be one of those. I might be one of those van guys in the States just doing shows all the time. I mean,
Right.
that might be the next step for me. I don't know. Like I said, I figured out how to make money creatively now, so I mean that's good. I haven't hit that consistent point yet, but I'm still doing it. I'm still making money, so
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah, so I don't know if I'm sticking around or not. I just, like, it's just for me. I just came back here because I can build my businesses here cheaper than I can in Canmore. Although I miss Canmore.
Right. Yes.
Miss it, but no. It sounds like you found your people, and that's
I think so.
sweet.
Yeah.
That's pretty sweet. They're a really good group of people.
Yeah.
Like I mentioned, the Metal Maiden. Ravenous is a pretty sweet band. If you haven't met them, they're pretty fun. Rav is a really cool dude. Let's see. I like Scyther. They're a local band in town. They're still, again, I don't know who's still together or not. At this point, that's a hard thing to do too, right? Know who's doing what. But yeah, I mean, yeah, there was a really fun music community in the city, and there still is. Like I just did a kind of a secret little concert with Buddy, his punk band Walk Alone. So it's in his house. He's got like a green, like a lit up basement. It was a cool little party, and it was fun, man. They just did their whole set just for their friends. It was a really, really cool little intimate, like, little setting. And I think that's the future. We're going to be a lot more intimate with the people we do connect with. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So that's just my opinion. I don't know. So Miss Julie, I guess we should talk about your books a little bit. So actually, I should ask this before we get there. What do you? I'm just curious. By little projects, what do you mean by little projects? In between.
Oh yeah. Well, so I actually did have several horror short stories, accepted by other publishers and published in anthologies, which was really exciting. I wanted to do that, but I didn't think it would happen so quickly. And then I actually did co-create an anthology with a horror author who's in the UK. And I mean, I had really admired his work, and then got to know him through some writing groups. And we co-authored an anthology, and that was a lot of fun because I really love reading other people's stuff. And so, of course, when you put an anthology together and you open for submissions, you get a lot of stories. And so we read through a lot of stories, and it was so exciting to be able to reach out and say, hey, we've chosen your story. Because out of hundreds, you only pick about 12, right? And so it was just so exciting to work with those people and bring their stories to life and put them in a book. And then I did launch a horror novella that was just through Killers and Demons. I did it myself, called Owen's Terrarium. And it's pure horror, but it's still serial killer. It just has to be. And I really had fun with that project because it just kind of came out like the way it was supposed to be right from the start. So I do have a few like novellas that I've written that are either already ready to put together or need some work and then put together. So I'm definitely going to keep doing those on the side as well, because I didn't really think about the novella, and the novella is, because it's not a full novel, it's just, for me, it's so easy because it's so focused. There's not a lot of time. You have to just get the story in and done. And I love working on that length. And so I'm definitely going to I have a few I'll be putting out, and then I'm just going to keep working on some more.
So that's my next book. My next book release is a novella-sized story. It's called Lights Out.
Nice.
It's a homage to Fahrenheit 451. I'm also drawing it, which kind of scares me.
That's fantastic. Yeah.
That scares the shit out of me, like a little
But
bit.
then you got to do it. You got to, if it's scary. Okay. So I know you came a little bit later to the book launch, but before the band played on Thursday, I had committed in my mind to get up and do a reading. Now, there's something about doing a reading in a bookstore, okay? It still can be kind of scary, kind of intimidating, but you're just standing on the same level as everyone. There's no microphones. It's just you. That's fairly comfortable, okay? But when I launched my first book in the bar at Vern's and had the band, somebody came up to me, and this woman used to actually be a serious journalist and do a lot of like true crime stuff. She's local. And I'd met her, and she came to my book launch, and she came all the way downtown on this really cold night. And she comes up to me and says, you have to do a reading before I leave. Well, you're not going to say no to someone like that, right? So I got up, and of course it's on the stage. All the lights are glaring at you. The microphone's on, and I was terrified. It was probably one of the worst readings I've ever done, but I did it. And so this year I've done a lot of practicing between then and now. And this year I said, okay, I'm doing this. And even though it would be on stage with a microphone, I thought, I'm just doing it. So the band helped me. They got the microphone set up. The lead singer gave me his magic metal jacket, which is full of magic metal, like totally. Got up there, and I could feel myself like taking a deep breath and just slowing down and going into it. And afterwards, like, people told me it was just so much better, I guess is the only way I can say it, than the first time I did that. And it felt good. I felt so much more comfortable. And I'm not saying I wasn't terrified. I was. But you've nailed it on the head. You need to do those things that really scare you, because they're good for you. You'll grow, and you'll be happy you did it. And you got to do these things that scare you.
It's my 8th rule: stay uncomfortable.
Yes.
So when I started drawing, the biggest thing that terrified me was, what if I suck? And
who cares? You'll get better.
Well, actually, I was going to go the other way. The answer was, so what if you suck? You don't always have to be good at everything, right? The important thing is to have fun. Now,
Yes.
I've been posting drawings for about 1.5 years now. You can literally see what I posted today is easily the most complex thing I've ever drawn. Like, it's not even close. Like, the detail I put into that was the first time I've ever drawn something longer than an hour. It took me 2 hours to draw that and color that, ink it, all that stuff. And it was just like, and I can still see all the flaws, but I have to see how far I've come. A year ago, I wasn't able to do it.
That's great.
Right? So you gotta, like, what I've learned in this life is, if it scares you, do it. Because on the other, fear can be one of two things. It can either be your cage or your door. It's one or the other. It's your cage, because if it stops you, it's your cage. You will never go past that moment. But if you walk forward in the face of your fear, right, on the other side is almost always what you actually want. I have learned this. So if it terrifies you, just do it, because just for that reason alone. Consequently, folks, I might be a little bit of a beer junkie. I'm just going to warn you up front. I might be a little nuts that way.
Yeah.
But there's some truth to that, what I'm saying as well, because
Yeah.
everybody's got things they're afraid to do. Everybody's got things, but usually they're connected to the very things we want to do. And so when something terrifies you, you must face it. Whatever that is, you must face it. If you don't, you will always be in a cage of it.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's just the way it is.
Yeah. I agree. I totally agree. Well said.
Yeah. So you're gonna open up. So you're gonna go to like one of these rock and roll festivals. You're gonna come out like you did, like when you were dancing. You're gonna go up there.
Yeah.
You're gonna go to the microphone like this. You're gonna like read from your book. Play applause and just go. Let's fucking rage. Just get the open
right?
up the open. Yeah, why not?
I know, right?
Why
yeah,
not?
Totally. Yeah.
Why not? I mean, I'm crazy. Yeah, you should. You should. I mean, that should be the goal, I think. I mean, here's the thing. I'm sure, like, your buddies with Lynx, I'm sure the Metal Maidens, if she's listening to this, I mean, I'm sure she can make that happen, too. There's lots of bands in town, and like, hey, that'd be a great way to get practice and also get closer to a really cool community, right? So.
Yes, for sure. Yeah, I concur. That's the idea.
Yeah.
Well, and actually, there's a good collaboration, too, I have with Sunrise Records.
Mm-hmm.
So I do have the first book in the store there, and they have still to this point, they're not taking more inventory. They had to shut all that down during COVID. However, I've stayed in touch with the individual managers of the different stores, and hopefully soon we can all start getting our, because some of the bands that sell their CDs there too, they haven't been able to get their inventory in. The idea was to do a book signing there at some of their locations because they do that occasionally. It's not something they do all the time because they don't have a lot of authors selling their stuff through that store, but it's a really good match for what my book is about and the theme and the feel. And so I'm really looking forward to hopefully being able to do that soon as well. That'll be really fun.
That would be really fun. I actually almost the first time I came back to Calgary, I saw your book and I smiled. So what I'm going to do, I did. I legitimately did, because this was in the middle of the height of the crazy in terms of the back passes and all that stuff, the height of the absolute crazy there. And I'm looking around and walking around and seeing like this really weird, like for me, a really weird view of the city. And then I go into the music store and there is you and there is Sarah Johnson casually murdered on the front of the book. So for those people listening, listen to this. Sarah Johnson's a local author in town. She's incredibly talented, but she played the role of murder victim for the cover of her first book. So I told Sarah this. This is what I'm going to do. I am going to eventually buy that book. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to have her start a story about how she ended up murdered, and I'm going to have you finish it.
Definitely. I'll keep you a copy because that is now vintage print. I do still have them, but I've had the covers all redone and aligned now because as much as I loved doing them, they weren't aligned. They didn't look like they belonged in a series, and they needed to be different in order to work online. And if I want to sell more books online, then you need to have a look that fits with your subgenre. So I do still have copies of that in print. I'll probably have them for the next few months, but once they're gone, I will always have the ability to print more if I want to, but I will probably start printing the new ones because they do look very aligned. But I will definitely put one away for you so that you won't miss out on that. Because now, like I said, they're vintage print.
And like I told you, Disneyland, the whole concept. Because the book, the book is still at Sunrise, folks. The original version of it. So get it while you can.
Yes. Right.
Get it while you can. But I mean, I say that because well, it feels like the first cover felt like a legitimate 80s track. Like, yeah, I love the back of it, especially. It's my favorite part of it. But no,
I did maintain the back. So I guess I can't really show you right now, but the back does look like a cassette, and that was the whole idea. And the back for the second one looks like an LP. And so when I had the fronts redone, I did maintain the backs because I just think they look really cool, and they're supposed to look like that. So yeah, I did maintain that.
Well, no, and they stand out too. Like Well, I do think I have my own reason why a lot of authors don't do back matter anymore. And then in your case, it makes sense because again, it ties into that album feel, which you don't
Yeah.
completely escape from. You want it to be an album feel. I gotta ask, what's your favorite '80s album?
Oh, like if I have to pick one, it's
Just one.
Appetite for Destruction. I
Oh,
can't
Guns
like
N'
because
Roses.
if I was like on an island, the stupid question, I could listen to that over and over and over because you just deconstruct all the pieces of every track over and over and over, and that's really what got me into the hardcore 80s metal. So definitely
So
that is my top choice.
for me, it's Master of Puppets, Metallica.
Oh, see, and there's so many good ones in that era, so it's not like it's an easy decision.
No,
But I
no,
think
no.
you have one that you fell in. Like I just had such an experience with that album, and it's more the experience than anything that you're going back to, right?
Yeah.
But that's a good
Well,
choice too. Very good choice.
yeah. There's no bad song on that album.
No.
Right. Metallica's best two albums are Master and The Black. Right? And
Yeah.
The Black,
Yeah.
so the Black is good. If you really want a good metal album, it's Master.
Yes.
It's always Master, and
Yeah.
like some of the best songs that they've sent, like that whole album could be a greatest hit, and no one and everybody would buy it, right? So right, even
Yeah.
Orion, which they rarely play, is really freaking cool. So that's my like yeah. For me, it's interesting. I've evolved into like again something a little bit more. I still like the symphonies. I like. I guess for lack of a better term, I call it the music nerd metal because every
Yeah.
because here's the other thing about metal. I think that's really cool. Most of them are giant music bands, like whether it's classical music,
Yes.
whether it's a particular band or style or and metal. The only other genre that actually comes anywhere close to being like that is jazz. Jazz is the same thing. A lot of those students are just as obsessed as the metal guys. They just do it a little differently, but it's still the same kind of deal. So
Yeah.
if you want it like Metallica, for example, like the thing that should not be, there's a little homage to the death song. Da, na, 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 is actually in the song, which I think is really like it's one of those like music nerd things. Like, oh, I get you. Like they're like us. Like when we write stories, we steal from other stories all the time, right? And they did it, and music people are the exact same way. And I like. That's freaking cool. We're not that different after all. You know what I mean?
No. Yeah.
Yeah. So okay, so that's your favorite. So there's Guns N' Roses for you. So like modern wise, who do you like?
Oh yeah. Well, I mentioned Dirty Honey. I mentioned Greta Van Fleet, and honestly, okay. So yes, I admit there is a certain Zeppelin feel, but if you're someone like me who has listened to every single one of their albums from beginning to end over and over, they have their own voice completely. And I've been wanting to see them. I had tickets when they came through as a standing room only thing years ago, but then we were actually away on a big hiking venture, and so I wasn't able to go. They're coming through in August, and yeah, right away I got tickets because I've been wanting to see them for so long. Who else modern? I mean, I'm really into Jack White because this guy, I mean, he does everything from bluegrass to electric to you name it. And he's on tour now, but not coming my way because I mean, not everybody comes here. There's not a big motivation for these guys to come here. So I'm really into him. And honestly, going back to GNR, like Slash does come through to Calgary on a regular basis, and he's in that really great phase now where he's playing these smaller venues and just up on stage thrashing it to a smaller audience. So every time he comes through, I go see him.
I love it.
Some of these guys that should be dead are still traveling, and anytime I get a chance to see any of them, I do go. But there is a lot going on there that is modern, and and I really like local live stuff. So my husband and I are always going to blues jams and local live concerts, and it's not all the same genre. I will eat up like any genre. In fact, we just saw Buddy Guy over at the Grey Eagle Casino here, and it's a small venue. It's a great venue they've got in the casino. They have a separate room for all the concerts. This guy's 85 years old or something, right?
Oh yeah.
And he comes out, he's wearing these like coveralls, overalls, and this little shirt and, you know, button-up shirt. And he shuffles out, and this little like 85-year-old, maybe he's 110 pounds, and he shuffles out up to the microphone. And then he picks up his guitar and just freaking starts thrashing his electric guitar, blues style. Then he opens his mouth and starts singing. And I was like, oh my God, like this is like this voice. It doesn't matter how old he is, he still sounds incredible. He put on such a show. So, I mean, experiences like that. I love these smaller venues where whether you're a big band or a small band or whatever, and you're doing an intimate show. I was so lucky to see Chris Cornell. He came through the Jack Singer here, and it's a small intimate setting, and it was all acoustic. It was him, one other guy, and they redid everything, whether it be Soundgarden or Audio Slave or his solo works, and it was all acoustic, and it was one of the most amazing things I've ever seen. So I just love a good experience. But there are new artists, new bands all the time that I'm discovering, whether they just be local people or the big guys like Jack White. I mean, I can't get enough of stuff like that. So yeah, I love a whole array of stuff, really.
So this is who I write to.
Yes.
Super talented person. I'm actually thoroughly enjoying this album. It's a throwback, but it's kind of a fun one.
Nice. Yeah.
Right? You want someone a little bit more local. She's 20 now. She kicks all kinds of ass.
Oh, yeah.
She actually sent me a personalized autographed copy of this, which is kind of cool.
Nice.
All right. And then I'll go, and then, like I said, I'll listen to Tarja. I'll listen to Epica. I'll listen to, like, Nightwish. I'll listen to, like,
Yeah.
I like that. Like, that's my favorite stuff. But like I said, and every once in a while, I just go full into I'm on a mark. But also, I'm just, like you, I try all kinds of experiences. Like, the one cool thing about being in the arts, there's a lot of great art out there. You have to be willing to go look for it.
Yeah.
Right? But if you're willing to look for it, it's cool. Actually, my other little like guilty pleasure, I'm a big Shoji Meguro fan. He's a Japanese composer for video games.
Wow.
Right,
Yeah.
right. So, but yeah, it's not like video game music you've ever heard. Like one of my favorite songs is called "Rivers in the Desert." It's from a game called Persona 5. The OST. It sounds like what if Michael Jackson did Speed. And it's an incredible jazzy rock, and it's a banger, and it's actually the final boss music of the game. It's amazing, right? And
Yeah.
right, you can just, but then again, there's so many of these great experiences out there,
Yeah.
and you know, you just gotta go again. It's being that openness to see it. Favorite place in Calgary to actually hear a show.
Well, I mean, I guess I'd have to probably say the Jack Singer, just because the acoustics are 100% designed to really hear the music really, really well. But you know, it's equal with just these little dive joints where you're up close dancing right at the stage and experiencing that like sweaty headbanging. So I'm kind of torn because I love a really well done acoustic show, but then I like to be part of that up close and personal experience too.
No, I got that.
Yeah, and actually recently I haven't been to the back alley. For people that are in Calgary, they know what I'm talking about, in so long. And there's a really good 80s metal tribute called Broken Toys, and they're really good. So they were doing the old lady show, as I call it, on a Saturday at 7:00 at the back alley, and that place has been totally renovated. And it is big stage now, big dance floor. And that was really fun because I've seen these guys a number of times. I know what their favorite drinks are. So my favorite guy is Dan. I always buy him a Jack Daniels and kind of slide it his way because they're way up on stage. So you kind of just got to get his attention. And so it was just, even though it's this big fancy stage, you can still really get up and personal and really enjoy. And I'll tell you, that place was packed. There's a lot of old ladies like me that love to go out and headbang to their 80s metal. It's still a thing.
You're not that old, Miss Julie. I've seen, like you said, you mentioned the 85-year-old jamming. Like when you get to that age, listen. My dream for you is this: you're 80 years old, you're still reading like from your best-selling serial killer books, and
Right.
and you're lighting up like these metal bands right
Totally.
before they get started. Like, why not? Like, why the hell?
That will be, that's the
Yeah,
goal.
yeah, that should be the goal. I last time we'll talk about that. We'll wrap up the show. Is so when I went to that private concert, I met a 12-year-old who's like, I want to be a writer and I want to be a doctor. And I go to her, why not both? Right?
Yeah.
And why not? Right? And I go, and why wait? Start now, right? Because and we just talked, and I showed her a little bit how to actually pitch a book. Because a lot of, like, again, it's amazing to me, like talk about it like old bogey. It took me a long time to figure that out, and it's as if I can stay for about 10 years, I'll do it.
Yeah.
And she goes to me, you're pretty cool. She actually said to me, you're pretty cool. Well, thanks. And I told her, when you get your book, when you're more ready to actually publish, come on my show. Why not? Right?
Yes.
Always. I think the most important thing is I realize is no matter how old you are, we all have dreams. It doesn't matter how big or small. Right? We all have them, and we should take them seriously. I think especially after the last 2 years have taught us anything, is that never, like, we ain't coming out of this alive, folks. We just ain't. So if that's the case, then those dreams, those things you have that make things worth living, you should do them. And everybody should take those things seriously. And whether it's a 12-year-old wanting to write a novel, or an 85-year-old like crotchety old woman reading out from her serial killer book, screaming, "That's fucking great!"
Right?
It doesn't matter.
Totally.
It doesn't matter. It's the same thing. We all have these things we feel called to do, so we should just do them. And you know what? Not worry about it, because I'll feel better doing the things I'm supposed to do. You feel better doing the things. You said it yourself. You're doing the things you love to do.
Yeah.
Right? So if you're doing the things you love to do, then really you're living. That's what living, like, it's doing what you love with people you love. That's really what living is. When you break it all down, all the fancy doodah, whatever, that's it. Like, it's not hard, it's not complicated. It's just that like, it's the courage to walk through that door.
Yeah, I agree. Well said.
Yeah. Lots of agreeing, well said too. Okay, but yeah. So, all right, 3 books. Do you know how many more you got? Do you know how many more you got in the series, or do you think you know how many more you got?
At least 3 more. At least 3 more. But I mean, I don't know what'll happen when I get to 6. So it could be more than that, but at least 3 more. Yeah, and a whole bunch of spin-off novellas of some of the side characters, and then of course all my horror writing as well. So
you're just permanently going to be a horror writer, doing serial killers, wreaking apocalypses, all that stuff.
Yeah. Well, I mean, there is one other thing. I know I met you years ago and you bought my cycling book. It's an inspirational nonfiction. There is going to be a follow-up to that on the hiking side of things. I just don't know if it's going to be this year, but it is going to happen. So I'm going to be inspirational too. It's either going to be like, yes, you can, or you're going to die. Right? One of the two. You like that?
I have to introduce you to an author named Anita Stewart.
Sure.
So she's all about the murder. Like, she's all about the murder. She sent me she recommended me a short story collection, and it was like, I opened it up, and literally all the characters die horribly, in some form or fashion. I do an Alice in Wonderland story, right? So the very first thing is an Alice in Wonderland riff, where Alice becomes a mass murderer and just kills everything in Wonderland, and it's just like,
right.
So like, it just happens, and I'm just like, yeah, like I said, it's like, you guys and your serial killers, like, okay, all right, hey, whatever floats you. I am not, like, certainly at this point in my life, I am too old to judge anybody for anything they do. It's too hard. Like I look at it kind of like this. We're all here to do what we're all here to do, and that serial killer story is as important as that song, or as that work of art, or as, I mean, these things matter. So, you know what, if that's what you feel compelled to do, and that's what you feel called to do, God bless you, good luck, whatever you believe in. I hope you rock, and And if it's mass murder is the goal in your pages, may it be a bloody thing from start to finish. If that's what you want to do.
Right. Oh,
Well, Miss Julie, I
yes.
gotta say I missed you.
Yes, it was so nice to reconnect. Really
Yeah,
nice to reconnect.
it was nice. Like I again, I don't know how often. So, what's your opinion? Do you think we're gonna get When Words Collide to come back in proper form or fashion next year?
I don't know. I mean, it's all online again this year, so it's really hard to say. I don't know I haven't been as involved, so I don't know what
Yeah,
direction they'll go.
I stayed away from the online stuff.
Yeah.
That show should not be an online show. It just is. It just shouldn't
Yeah.
be.
Well, the first year they went online, I just had a really old computer that wasn't doing well, and I wasn't able to commit to any presentations. But then last August, I did do a bunch of presentations. I just thought I should just do this. It would just be good to help out and do this. But this year, I won't be doing any. I think they've really streamlined it too, so they've just got like fewer presentations and more focused, which is probably going to work really well for the online thing. So I won't really be doing anything this year, but I'm going to keep my eyes peeled and see what they do next year. And hopefully it would come back to full in person, but I guess we'll have to wait and see.
Well, then this is what I pitch for you today. You know, everybody knows that the author's favorite night is sport night. So I say you, me, and a whole bunch of other authors, we sneak into the hotel and make a fort.
Well, and last year there was a small group that did meet, and they had dinner and drinks, and I think at the very least some of us could do that. We could have something, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. No, well, see, my favorite thing about that, like, and this is the thing, this is the sad thing about, again, this is the sad part of the divergency, is that the Calgary community that used to be really, really, really tight is now in all these different directions. And the thing was, When Words Collide was a really good way to get us all together, and we've
Yeah.
got us all together. But we haven't had really that in 2 years. Now now it's 3 years without an actual presentation.
Do you know about the open mic night at Owl's Nest? Because
I
you might
do.
really, yeah.
I do. We'll see. Like for me, it's going to be we'll see. Like I will probably try to hit a couple of them, right? Especially when I get to the next couple of releases, because I got a whole bunch of material.
But even if you don't read, like you can just
Yeah.
come and listen, and then like sometimes people read, sometimes they don't. But the idea is you can come and connect with each other too. So it's really kind of nice.
If I can,
Yeah, I gotta go to that. I gotta go to the next one because I missed the last one. So.
Yeah, well, I'll check it out. Like, it obviously depends on what I'm doing, client wise and stuff. But yeah, no, totally. Like, I just feel like it's a good question, because I think what we all should do. I think what we should be plotting secretly is a place to build forts again, because that's the true bonding moment of When Words Collide, booze and forts.
Yes.
And yeah, that was the true power of that place. But anyway,
Yes.
I diverse.
Yes.
So backtrack.
Yeah.
Backtrack is live, right? Isn't it live now?
So if you go on my website and you're in Calgary, you can get a glam wrapped package delivered to your door. If you are not in Calgary, then on Thursday it goes live everywhere. So you'll be able to get print and ebook and everything this Thursday.
Where's your website?
It's just killersanddemons.com. Really straightforward. All the information is there. It's all up to date. So yes, perfect. Just go there, and if you have any questions, just reach out to me. All of my information is there.
Oh, right. And how is that where people can find you too?
Yes, like you can find my Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok, all that stuff. I'm mostly on Facebook and Instagram, but I do check Twitter regularly, and I do a little bit of TikTok because the videos are fun. I love doing, especially at Halloween, I do a lot of videos.
I've been doing my advertising content a lot on TikTok. I've been getting some good results from my client, but we'll like I said, we'll see whether they equate. Definitely gotten views. Sales, yes. I'm not sure, but we've definitely gotten views. So
yes.
So, and that, ladies and gentlemen, is the one, the only Julie Hiner. Backtrack is available now if you're in Calgary, and very soon. Actually, if you are listening to this, it is available now. If you're watching this right now, it'll be available in literally 2-3 days. Yes. And I want to thank Julie for coming on. This was really fun and nice to see you. Right.
Yes. Thank you for having me.
So for those watching, those listening, here is my advertising services. If you're looking to advertise your project or yourself, I will create advertising content for you, whether it's words, pictures, videos, or audio. I can do all of that stuff and more. Check out my webpage for more details. And on top of that, currently, we got a Kickstarter closing in this week.
Yes.
I'm on Kickstarter. My first short story and my first illustration is being published here. There's 2 mini zines. One is called On the Stack 2, which is the one I'm in. The other one's called Based on Springfield Comics, featuring a certain well-known franchise. Those are knockoff comics. My story is about a glorious dragon that got corrupted by glitter. Now wants revenge on the owner that made him do that. So it's fun. Written and illustrated by yours truly. You can actually pledge to the project right now. We are in the final 5 days. We are very close to being funded as we speak. So definitely check that out. And that will do it, ladies and gentlemen. I'm back later today. I got another great comic book creator coming on, $7.98. And then tomorrow, folks, is going to be the special one. We are doing our 800th episode.
Wow.
Tomorrow.
Good for you.
Yeah, thank you.
Wow.
It's going to be a drink and draw night with some amazing creatives. It's going to be a lot of fun. 5 p.m. Pacific, 8 p.m. Eastern time tomorrow night, and also 4 p.m. this afternoon. I will be back for some more. So for everybody watching, everybody listening, thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. Stay inspired. Keep shining in the dark. And I'll see ya later today.